Whales, dolphins and porpoises face an increasing range of pressures in the Mediterranean Sea. Their survival depends upon a healthy sea, yet little of their marine habitat is formally protected. Marine protected areas, also known as MPAs, or marine sanctuaries, are the equivalent of national parks and protected areas on land. Their purpose is to protect and maintain marine biological diversity and associated cultural resources through effective management. MPAs are tailored to the specific needs of an area of ocean. Some MPAs are no fishing zones. This allows stocks to rebuild, creating a spillover effect into surrounding areas. Other MPAs may manage specific activities to protect certain species and the habitats they depend on. Eric Hoyt is a marine conservationist and senior research fellow for the Whale and Dolphin Conservation Society. He's the author of numerous books, including Marine Protected Areas for Whales, Dolphins and Porpoises. He's based near Edinburgh, Scotland. Eric feels that creating MPAs for cetaceans can reverse their decline and play an important role in conserving other species and whole ecosystems.
Cetaceans are umbrella species in the sense that they bring in a lot of other species because their demands, their needs for habitat are considerably larger than most other species.
Scientists across the Mediterranean basin are working to identify these areas of special significance for cetaceans. If they can be identified and protected in time, entire marine ecosystems and people will benefit. Today we're in the Alboran Sea off the coast of southern Spain, where cetacean researchers are devising techniques to identify critical marine habitats. This is an area rich in biological diversity, which is often in conflict with international and socio-economic interests. Ana Cañadas and Rick Sagarmenaga run ALNATAC, a marine research and education program in the Alboran Sea. The Alboran Sea is a dynamic pelagic ecosystem where warm, salty Mediterranean water collides and mixes with cool, fresh water from the Atlantic Ocean.
After a few years, we started realizing that it was indeed a very interesting area with high diversity and high density of several species. So we started focusing more on specific issues. Especially, our main interest is to use science, sound science, to inform conservation.
Volunteers from the Earthwatch Institute join Anna and Rick on board their research vessel, Toftevaag. They act as field assistants, participating in all aspects of cetacean and turtle research.
One of the first things we were interested in already a few years ago was to see if there's any special areas or hotspots that should be protected, like in marine protected areas.
Anna uses a research technique called spatial modelling to determine the presence and extent of important habitat for cetaceans, turtles and seabirds. Combining sightings data collected during boat-based surveys with environmental factors such as temperature, depth, sea slope and productivity levels allows her to create a picture of the abundance and density of animals in an area.
The most interesting thing is to combine everything so you can get a more wide view of the ecology of the species. So, for example, we have been focusing especially on the study of the habitat preferences of the different species, if there are any areas that they prefer, and the abundance and the trends. How are the populations doing? They are increasing, decreasing, they are stable.
While Anna focuses primarily on cetaceans, Rick gathers sightings and tagging data on loggerhead sea turtles.
This is a loggerhead turtle. It's the most common species that we have in the Mediterranean. Well, right now we've just picked her up for measuring and take some photographs. We'll record the position, the temperature of the water she's in, and then we'll just release her.
Thousands of loggerheads are accidentally killed each year in Spanish waters when caught on the hooks of long lines meant for tuna and swordfish.
Yeah, one of the main problems related with fisheries that we have in the Alboran Sea is that it's probably the hotspot of bycatch of turtles worldwide. We have one of the highest bycatch rates in the long-lining fishery. And in some occasions they can catch up to 3 or more turtles in every 1,000 hooks. Every year that adds up to around 20 to 30,000 turtles, which is a very, very high number.
In addition to tracking turtles, Rick collaborates on mitigation projects with local fishers to establish ways to protect these ancient reptiles. By working with local fishers, Rick has established that changing the bait on longline hooks from squid to mackerel can reduce turtle bycatch by as much as 80%.
In the case of testing the bait, they were really enthusiastic about this whole process and being part of it, which means that if one day this becomes a regulation, which we hope it will actually be accepted by the fishermen, and that's absolutely vital.
Anna and Rick know that for protection to work, all stakeholders must recognise the value of healthy marine ecosystems.
Working with a fisherman is essential, in the same way that it's essential to work with shipping companies and anyone who's out there. I mean, the ideal would be that everyone feels they are part of this and they feel that these natural values are an added value to their activity, so that they see the benefit also in this being a protected area.
Both cetaceans and sea turtles are migratory species, requiring corridors or networks of MPAs to protect them and the widespread habitats they depend on. So far, Anna and Rick have proposed a series of MPAs called Special Areas of Conservation and Special Areas of Mediterranean Importance. Currently, only 0.01% of the world oceans are fully protected marine reserves, compared to 11.5% on land. Experts estimate that 20% of the world ocean is the minimum area needing full protection in order to maintain marine ecosystems.
We're really looking at the need to expand our conceptions, and it's not just the surface, the 71% of the ocean surface, it's also looking 7 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. We have a lot of different habitats and microhabitats. Really 99% of the habitats on Earth are probably marine.
Currently, there are only a handful of MPAs within the Mediterranean Sea that focus on cetaceans. Combined, they account for only 3.5% of the basin. In 2007, the countries that are parties of ACABAMS adopted a resolution supporting the creation of 17 MPAs for some of the world's most threatened cetacean populations and the habitats they depend on. One of the challenges in establishing MPAs in the Mediterranean is that national waters only extend 12 nautical miles offshore, leaving a substantial area of potentially unregulated waters on the high seas. In most areas of the world, national waters extend 200 nautical miles offshore. There are encouraging signs of increasing collaboration to protect the high seas with the establishment of the Pelagos Sanctuary for Marine Mammals in 1999. Monaco, France and Italy share 47% of this MPA. The remaining 53% is on the high seas.
It's fantastic challenge for a group of countries to get together and to try to figure out ways that they can protect species and ecosystems within their remit. And cetaceans are using the high seas, we know that. Beaked whales are found far from shore, and sperm whales are right across open ocean areas. And if we can't figure out how to do high seas protection, then we're leaving a lot of area open and it will just be a free-for-all. The Pelagos Sanctuary is really new. We don't know how it's going to effectively protect cetaceans yet. Some people call it a shipping sanctuary because there is so much ship traffic in the Pelagos Sanctuary that it might as well be protecting ship traffic. There are a lot of other activities that we don't want to have in a marine protected area, such as some drift net fishing. They're still going on in the Pelagos Sanctuary.
Unfortunately, MPAs are not the solution to all threats faced by marine species and ecosystems.
Pollution is one of them because it's something that can happen well outside of a marine protected area and yet have profound effect on it, because of the movement of the ocean currents, and also it can be land-based. A lot of pollution, most of it comes from the land, through rivers and runoff from agricultural chemicals on land.
We're in Siena, Italy, home of the University of Siena, visiting one of the most important toxicology labs for marine life in Europe. Cristina Fossi is an environmental toxicologist at the University of Siena. She focuses on the impacts of man-made chemical pollutants on cetaceans and pelagic fish.
The Mediterranean is probably one of the most fascinating places in terms of history, in terms of biodiversity, in terms of ecology, but it's a very fragile environment because the human impact is extremely more higher than other places. So the most unexplored factor that is the contamination. All time when we use the chemicals in our house, after this, these chemicals will arrive after 10 days, after 10 months in the sea. And in the sea, this chemical can produce toxicological effect of in whales, interfering with the reproduction of whales, interfering with reproduction of dolphins. So all time when we use chemicals in our life, we have to consider that these chemicals does not stop just in my room, but can move around the world and produce toxic effect. The level of chemicals in a top predator of the Mediterranean Sea, such as the striped dolphin, are 1 order of magnitude higher than the same species in the Atlantic. So the dolphins, particularly striped dolphin, bottlenose dolphin, common dolphin, in the Mediterranean Sea are 10 times more contaminated than the same species in the Atlantic.
In order to have effective marine protected areas, we have to be able to manage the ecosystem. We have to look at where all these threats are coming from that might have an impact on the area.
Ecosystem-based management and the creation of MPAs to protect cetaceans could well be the key to ensuring a healthy and sustainable future for the Mediterranean, its biodiversity, and those who rely on its cultural and commercial assets.
Marine protected areas are ongoing works of art, so to speak. You have got to have involvement from local people, local politicians, the researchers, the whole group of users that are involved in a protected area, and they've got to take this to heart. They've got to take this area, and it has to mean something to them. And then they transform it from a piece of paper into something that's real.
The question remains, can cetaceans be the catalyst to protecting marine biodiversity in the ancient Mediterranean Sea?